Hi, my name is Julianne, and today I'm going to be talking about The Magicians Season 2. I watched the first two episodes when they came out, but I kind of fell behind really early on in the season, and months later I finally caught up. And thank God I did, because damn, that ending! Oh my god, I am so excited for Season 3. For those who don't know what The Magicians is, it is basically if Harry Potter and Narnia had a kid, but with more death, cursing, and sex. Basically, it's amazing, and I highly recommend it. There are problems that I find with the show, particularly, but I will talk more about that in spoilers, in the spoiler section of the video. The show is really good. There's just a couple of things that I find kind of annoying, and I'm like, when is this getting resolved? Some of the stuff did get resolved though. But again, I will be talking about that soon in the spoiler section, which I'm going to be jumping into right now. Bye if you haven't seen it. First of all, I need to give the obligatory "that didn't happen in the book" section of the video, so I'm gonna do that now. First of all, they were sheeps. They were sheeps. Ember and Umber were literal talking sheeps. Why did you make them human? I don't understand. It bothers me. I know it shouldn't, but they're talking sheep. This is from the first season as well. It was a problem in the first season, but what is going on with this whole marriage thing in Fillory? By the way, I think it's actually pronounced Fillory, but I like to pronounce it Fillory, but apparently it's Fillory, which actually makes more sense looking at how it's spelled, but I switched between Fillory and Fillory. In the books, I believe marriage wasn't even a thing where you were forced to stay in this world forever. They were just trying to complicate this, and I was kind of mad that Elliot got married. One, he never actually had a love interest in the books, but in the show, Elliot got married. And not just, he got married even though he didn't in the books. He got married to Fen, and that's her name, right? And I'm like, why would they do that? It made no sense. They could easily have just done, the guy wanted his daughter to be part of, not to get married, but, they could have had the dad be like, I want her to be an advisor to the king. They really didn't need to have him get married, and they didn't need to have him get married to a woman, but they kind of sort of solved the situation. By putting him in a polyamorous relationship with that one dude from, oh my god, what's the name? Oh my god, did I actually forget the name? Loria. There we go. I remember because in I Am Number 4, they're from that world, and they're called Lorians. So the fact that in The Magicians there's Lorians just is funny to me. The king from Loria and Elliot, I guess, are gonna get together, even though it's kind of weird because he killed the king, right? Elliot, during the time, there's so many time jumps, by the way. During the time the entire year, Quentin was not in Fillory, Elliot went to battle against the king from Loria and killed him. And now they're getting married in the show, which is kind of funny. But at least he's getting married to a guy. But it's weird. They did not have to overcomplicate things. Anyways, moving on from that, I'm gonna go into the time jumps, and then I'll try to go into all the stuff that didn't happen in the books, but that I enjoyed, because there is some stuff that happens in the show that didn't happen in the books, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I love this so much. To get off on a little tangent here, I do like that the show doesn't follow the book as close. Some things I wish they stuck with the book because I think it would have been better. It would have made more sense. But there are other things where they go off script, basically, and it makes it more interesting because you don't know if you've read the books, you don't 100% know what's gonna happen. At the end of the first season, at the end of the first book, they kill the beast, it's over. Alice was already an infant. She does not come back until the third book. So it's oh my god, wait, Alice is still here. What is happening? Oh my god, the beast is still not dead. You're just wait, how is the beast not dead? You were thinking he was gonna die in the first season because first season, first book kind of mentality there. But no. So it does make it interesting. I think they're kind of flipping the script on the second and third book and kind of making certain things that happen in the second book happen in the third season, and stuff that happens in the third book already happening in the second season, but I'll go into that a little bit later. Basically what I wanted to talk about was the time jumps. It's really confusing watching the show and having read the books, because as I'm watching the show I'm like, okay, this is the time jump. No, this part is going to be the time jump. In the books, time jumps were like the biggest thing. To point out again, Filori is Narnia. Like, Brakebills is Hogwarts, Filori, however you want to pronounce it, is Narnia. Remember how, like, you go into Narnia, and like those kids, they were there for so many years, and like so many years happen and they come back. You know, they become older, they become like adults, and they come back to our world and like no time really has passed. And that's what happened in the books. Like, and they continuously reference how in the Filori books, like, there were time jumps. They would go in for weeks and come back out at certain times, and yet in the show it appears as if stuff happening in Filori and in their world, like, or our world, I don't know. You could argue Magicians takes place in another world than ours. I mean, it's canon that there are it's the multiverse, so, you know. And so when Quentin goes back to his world, it's, you know, no time should have passed, but yet stuff that's happening in this world and this world appear to be happening at the same time. One time Quentin was like, yeah, it's been a couple of months, but it still seems like everything's happening relatively at the same time. For those who haven't read the books, it takes place over years. And I understand in the show, like, I totally understand why they don't want the show to take over years, because, like, if 10 years pass, they have to make the actors 10 years older within what, like 3 seasons? If they're following each season per book, you know, and like that's only like 3 years. So you have to like actually age up your people, and like that's might be more difficult for a show, and it's easier to showcase it all happening relatively sooner rather than over years. But when they went to Filori, I mean, they were already out of Brakebills. Like 4 years had passed. They were in Brakebills, they did their thing. Then 2 years passed, and then they're like, hey, which I'm still not sure how they figured this out. Like, I read the book and I don't even remember. But they somehow were like, yeah, Filori is real. Let's go. And then they go, and then they're like, oh, the Beast, that guy that killed that girl when we were in class that one time. Yeah, let's go defeat him. That's not exactly how it went down, but I'm summarizing. Alice is all like, well, I'm gonna go Niffin now. And so, yeah, that's kind of how the first book went. It took place over, what, 6 years? Quentin was and the thing that I liked in the show was that they were accurate. He got his shoulder hurt, and then the centaurs put the wood on his shoulder. Like, that happened in the books. I was so excited when I saw that. It was like, oh my god! And then Elliot did leave a note, and I was just, it was so exciting to see that, because like, it happened in the books. But he was stuck in Filori for 2 years. He couldn't find a way out, and then he had to go, you know, that lady, well, it was, from what I remember in the books, it was a white stag, and it wasn't like a half woman, half whatever the hell she was. His one wish was to go back home to his world, which, again, accurate in the show, accurate in the books. Like, he asked for that wish, he wanted to go back, and he had to go work in an office and everything. He never actually, well, he did interact with that lady who was with Charlie. They never sleep together. That was weird. Why were they? And that was strange. I think they were just trying to show off that she slept with the professor, and literally all she had to do was be like, hey, you know Minkowski? I might have mispronounced that, but you know him down in South Pole? It's because of him that, you know, I tried to do a beauty spell, it backfired, Charlie's a Niffin. And like, she could have just done that. Like, they could have had a conversation like that, and they did not need to have thrown sex in there, but it's the Magicians. After Quentin, you know, his 2 years, he comes back here. Elliot and Julia, who disappeared in the first book, they show up and they're like, so let's go be kings and queens. Let's go do that. Let's be kings. Let's go back to Filori. So they do. And Alice is a Niffin, so they think she's dead, and Julia's there. In the second book, you find out what Julia's story is in the second book, and I actually like how it happened at the same time in the show, because it just made more sense, because like in a book it's easier to do it, but in a show it'd be weird to have Julia not there and then she shows up in the second season and is like, okay, let me tell you my story, and then do it in flashbacks or something, because having it happen at the same time just, it made more sense, and I like the way that they did that. They're on their trip, they're going to the end of the world, and I think they're doing that in the third season because the gods are dead and they need to go save magic because everything's still, you know, magic's still not there. They have to go save the world. But magic was dying in the second book, and the gods, specifically Ember and Umber, were like, can you go to the end of the world and like just like save everything? I think I see what they're doing in the show. Like, if killing them off, that means that they don't have anyone to rely on to save magic and they have no choice but to go to the end of the world. But I mean, in the books it worked out the way it did. The gods just being like a-holes and just sending them off on this quest. I think it would have worked the way they did it in the books. Quentin did actually kill both Ember and Umber. And it's very interesting, it was very telling of the character Umber, because in the beginning, and I kind of wish they did it this way, because like Umber, you know, is accurate, basically made Martin turn into the beast. Like, he kind of gave him that power. And he was hiding out in Black Spire. It's basically the opposite of White Spire. Seriously though, I'm literally about to spoil the ending of the series. If this section is just going to spoil the series, and then I will put the time here, what time to skip to, so you don't get spoiled on the end of the series, and this section is only going to be on the ending of the entire series. Umber was so telling about the character is like at the end, Quentin is all like, you know, Umber, like you have to like you and Ember, you both need to die so we can have the power to save the world. And if you kill a god, you get the, what was it? It was like you got the power of the god or something like that. I kind of forgot, but basically Quentin becomes a freaking god, and it's just incredibly awesome. Like, it's so amazing. You have no idea. Like, well, if you know the book, you know, but it was so cool because, you know, he saw this entire, like, he was basically a god, and he was able to touch like this entire world and fix it and bring, you know, and it was just like he was able to save it, because what was happening at the end of Narnia was what was happening at the end of Magicians, and Quentin was like, I'm just gonna save the world. And it was just so amazing because Quentin is a side character. Like, Lev Grossman wrote Quentin to be the side character who just so happened to have a point of view. But it's so interesting to see him save the world like this, and Umber sacrificed himself. Umber, literally, this god, the sheep that could talk, you know, talking sheep and not some humanoid sheep thing. Were they sheep or were they rams? Actually, I might be making a mistake here. He went to Quentin and was like, I have to sacrifice myself to say, you know, for you to have this power. Umber's willing sacrifice brought so much more to the character. So I'm gonna stop spoiling that ending. And if you skipped ahead this part, it's fine. No spoilers for the end of the series. But I do see where they're going with it. So I feel like the second book storyline is gonna be happening soon. What I really liked about the show was the bank robbing scene. I know it doesn't happen in the books, and it's kind of weirdly random. I love heists, and so seeing them like just break into this bank and like rob it, it was so much fun to watch. Even though it doesn't happen in the books, as long as it's fun and makes sense with the show and kind of continues to be the books basically, I'm fine with it. And also the underworld, okay, nothing like the books, which was, it was supposed to be horrible and depressing, and the part about the underworld, the importance of that scene, when Quentin goes down into the underworld, and he goes with Julia too, I think. They go down into the underworld, and guess who is not there? Alice. Quentin is trying to find Alice in the underworld. He was doing something else, but then he was like searching around, like, oh no, I wonder if Alice is here. Can't find her. And that's when you realize maybe she's not dead. That was such a pivotal moment in the books where it's like, oh my god, Alice isn't dead. I just realized what I said. I wonder if Keisha's gonna show up. That's such a pivotal moment, and then they take it and they kind of change it around. Like, yes, Quentin does bring her back to being human, but that's in the third book. I feel like they're gonna have some problems with the third book, like trying to make things that happen in the third book actually happen, because they already killed off the gods. I mean, yes, there's other gods and there might be some problems with them in the show, and bring them back. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have faith in the show. You know, like, I do have faith that they know what they're doing, and I just need to let them play it out. It's just like, at this point, I'm just trying to kind of theorize what they might do later on. But I do have faith, and I do think they're staying mostly true to the story and to the characters. I mean, Penny is not like his character in the books, which I'm happy about, because I hate Penny from the books. And it was so weird because in the books, he has a mohawk. Can you imagine Penny from the show having a mohawk? Like, I can't imagine that. No. And also, back to the whole underworld scene. Is it me, or was the TV show Magician's underworld more accurate to the underworld for Percy Jackson than the actual movie based off of the Percy Jackson series? Like, you didn't have Cerberus or anything like that, but you had freaking Hades and Persephone, which, from my remembrance, Our Lady Underground was not Persephone, but in the context of the show, it kind of makes sense. Like, Persephone, she's in the underworld, so it kind of makes sense. And I love Greek mythology, so bringing in Greek mythology, I love. So, and I don't feel like they're like ruining it or anything like that. Like, I think what they're doing with the show makes sense, and I like the underworld in this one, because in the show, because the one from the books is depressing. I mean, like, what they got, like, from what I remember, I think they have a ping pong table, and that's pretty much it. And you just spirit, and you do nothing. It's basically the Fields of Apostle, or however you pronounce it. It's that, but probably worse. You do not want to die in Filori. Like, I don't know if the underworld is the same as in, like, their universe, like, if it's different, or the underworld is completely the same in every universe. But yeah, I really enjoy The Magicians. I really think they're doing a good job with it overall, even with all the complaints and not being exactly like the book. I think they're keeping mostly the spirit of the book. It's still funny, it's still beautiful. It's a really good show. The magic's phenomenal. Like, I think it's a really good show. I really love it, and I'm excited for season 3. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about The Magicians. Let me know if you watched it, what's your favorite scene, and all of that fun stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.